Okay, we're back. I was just seeing if anybody on Twitter caught that I was streaming to the wrong channel, but seems like it was just you folks in the chat that noticed. So, yeah, let's build another one. So I'll just duplicate this one. Let's look at the Figma file for a second, come up with a name. So we'll just call this uh, like split um, two-tone or something. And we'll head back to the old Tailwind UI kind of workbench here. Contact split two-tone. All right. So let's start by deleting everything. And taking a look at the old Figma file. So we'll start again at the beginning. As always, I always start by just kind of getting all the elements in place. So we're going to have a div for the top half, div for the bottom half. This will probably be an H2, get in touch. So we have p tag. We'll copy this text. Then we kind of got this like contact section. We'll have like a div for that maybe. And then maybe like a p tag for this stuff. So we'll just do looking for careers. View all job openings. Okay, so looks like the period should not be in the link according to Steve. The thing that's interesting about this particular component, one thing I've never really known how to do is use the address element properly in HTML. I was reading about this the other day and it made it sound like it's kind of supposed to be reserved for like the contact section in a footer of a site, not necessarily for like multiple uses on a page, but probably it's just like conflicting information. So I did make a contact section the other day. Maybe like this one that had like some similar stuff. So I'll pull that up and kind of show you what I did. So let's just bring this down to like mobile size-ish. So if we open this up and look at simple, where did I do this? Yeah, so I thought this kind of made sense. I don't know if this is totally necessary actually. HTML5 address. Let's see some examples of this somewhere smart. The HTML5 doctor site is generally pretty good. Interesting. See, this is what I was worried about. You don't just use it to mark up an address. It must not be used to represent arbitrary unless those addresses are in fact relative to the contact information for a document. So in this case, since it's a contact section of a website, it's probably not incorrect to use it. But it is kind of interesting. So, all right. One thing I did here that I thought was kind of smart, probably, is use a definition list for this stuff. So it says email, then the email, then phone number. And my hope, anyways, is that that makes it clearer for screen readers. Even if like this stuff is invisible. So I think maybe we'll build this like kind of keeping that in mind too. So let's look at the Figma file again. And Maybe we'll make this like a definition list. And we'll have like a definition term. This will be like postal address maybe. And then in here, maybe we'll just do the address as like 2 p tags or something. Since they don't really have any meaningful screen reader semantics as far as I am aware. And here we'll do another DT, which would be like phone number. And then this will be where we'll have like the icon, which I think is like MD phone. This is like a this is kind of like an internal syntax that at compile time gets rendered into the real SVGs that we use just when we're building stuff, so we don't have to repeat the icons over and over again. And yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll just duplicate this for the email. And this will be MD mail, I think. Support. We'll just say example.com. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff here that we can hide. So all these definition terms can just be for screen readers. And then we'll sort everything out after that. Okay, so then we have kind of a form underneath that. So let's put a form inside here. And I'll go to the Tailwind UI site to grab these hidden label ones. And let's just look, double check. 48, those are big. Okay, so we might have to do a little bit of custom styling on these ones. And I don't know if we can even do 48. I think we have to do 50. But we'll figure it out. So you can see we have like some screen reader only stuff here too. So we'll do full name, email, phone, message. Full name, email, what was it? Phone, message. I think there's an input type phone, maybe, or input tel or something like that. I'm not too worried about it. Make this a text area. We want to make the placeholder say message, phone, email, full name. Okay, so you can probably, we're missing our transitions on this stuff too. Stupid me. Duration 150. We'll have to get these sizes right, but that's not going to be that huge of a deal. So this is currently 42 pixels. We're going to want to make it 50, I think. We might have to tweak some font size stuff, but we will figure that out. What did Steve do for, it's like 1, 2, 3, like 4-ish lines, rows. And then we've got a button. We can probably copy the button from the other one as a starting point. Stick that there. Let's get rid of these classes at least. And then, yeah, I think we can start with the styling. All right, so the gray section, 64 above, 64 below. And it should be have a gray background. That's another thing we should probably incorporate. I think it's gray 50. BG gray 50. P 16. PX4 probably. Yep. So that's that. Okay. Let's make this as small as we can. All right, so this heading is text 2XL, and he didn't do the line height, so we'll just have to see what do we normally do for that. 8. Font extra bolds, tracking tight, text gray 900. Okay. And then 18. Text LG. Steve didn't do anything here either. This is probably letting 6. Should be. Text gray 500. I'll do the space, so 16. And then above here is 32. And then we'll do the styles for that. Okay, so the actual styles for this looks like the text is the same everywhere, so maybe we'll just do that on like the whole definition list. We'll just say text base, letting 6 to be explicit, text gray 500. And this is just 2 paragraphs stacked on top of each other with no anything. This one has a gap of 24. Probably this one is, okay, 3. So that should give us something. And then we got to get those icons next to the text. Now this is 16. Okay, so the icons are the same height. So that's good. So we'll just make these flex. That's basically it. Refreshed my stream again by mistake. And then we need some space. So this is 12. So we'll do ML3. Someone's asking if it's an anti-pattern to just use placeholders. I mean, I think for long, complicated forms, probably. I'm not the police, though, so you can kind of do whatever you want. We just kind of give you the options, you know? If you don't want to use them, you don't have to use the ones that are just with placeholders. What was I about to do? Oh, we want to make sure that if this text ever gets too long or does anything weird, that it doesn't cause the icon to shrink. So let's just add flex shrink 0 here. And I think we'll probably add we'll just make these icons invisible to, actually, I don't think you even really need to bother with that. That'll be fine. Okay, so then this one, class text base, letting 6, text gray 500, and then this is medium 700. Font medium, text gray 700. Underline. I don't know what Steve's intention is for the hover state for that. Why does this fit 375? Okay. So this is 24. Okay, so that's part's done. Now, depending on if we wanted to do like a hover state for this link, that's not a pattern that we've really 100% settled on exactly what to do. So I'll talk to him about that during the design review. All right. So now down to this section where things will get a little bit more interesting, I think. BG white. 64, 64, so we get the same PY16 here. And probably this is 16 on the edges, so we can do PX4. And then we'll get the sizes of the inputs right. So one thing also is that the placeholder color is a little bit darker. When we do the inputs with the hidden labels, we tend to use the darker placeholder color. Just refresh the stream again for no reason. Every time I tab to Chrome, it's like a Russian roulette which window it actually selects. Super annoying. I should just start using a different browser for the actual YouTube stream stuff. Oh, space in the link. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so let's that sucks. Yeah, that's offensive. So I guess we'll just do it this way. All right. All right. So I think we want these inputs to be bigger. I'm going to get rid of this. This is like a trick that we use for making input text smaller on desktop than it is on mobile. Generally, we prefer 14 pixels for input sizes, but on iOS, an input that has a font size of less than 16 pixels, when you click it, it triggers a zoom. So we do 16 pixels on mobile, but then 14 pixels everywhere else, just as like a workaround for that iOS quirk. So I think this is 38 by default, and Steve wants them to be, or it's 42. Oh, because we're on the iOS size. But Steve wants them to be 48, which really is 50, because 48 is not possible with the border. So let me look at our Tailwind UI buttons, because these are built the same way. So they're going to be the same size as this one, I think. Or maybe this one. 38, 42, 50. Okay, so it's the last one. So I'm here to look at the padding values, basically. So PY3, that's basically all we need to know. It's PY3. So let's take all these inputs. We'll say PY3, and we'll probably change like the left and right padding a bit too. We might do that based on Steve's design here. 16. PY3, PX4. Yeah, so like that. And then for the gaps between all of these, he's got 24. So I think I'm going to build this as a grid just like the other one. Grid calls 1. Row gap 6. And then this button, submit. I think we forgot to rename the other button actually too in this one. Probably this should be submit. Okay. Probably want this button to be the bigger button. So we'll go with the PY3. I think we saw PX6 on buttons. Go a little bit more horizontal padding on buttons than on inputs generally. Okay, seems okay. And then the positioning is fine. Okay, so let's go to the next size up here. It looks like this is constrained at 512. Okay, so basically we just want to say we need a max width. Probably, I think it's this one. No? LG? Yeah. So we're going to have to wrap this in a container. So we should be able to see that this is constrained, and then we're going to want to do the same thing down below. Let's copy this div, and I'm going to put it on a new element. All right. What do you have the button position? Anything changed here? Font sizes a little bit. Just the heading, it looks like. Okay, so this is going to be SM text 3XL, SM leading 9, and then maybe the gap here, 7 pixels. It's a weird change, 16. It's fine though. I find this change a little bit weird. When we have these like containers that are constrained too early, it's like this font changes even though nothing else changes. But it's just kind of like one of those weird quirks of responsive design that are hard to get right. Just going to leave it. Something did come to mind that I wanted to verify. Oh, the padding. So anytime we do this PX4, we always do SMPX6, LGPX8. That's just kind of like our rule for horizontal padding on pages. So I'm just going to keep that assumption baked in. So this should have... Yeah, it's PX6 right now. So, all right. So let's look at the next size up. So this is Steve's design for 1024. All right. So at 1024, things get interesting again. Someone's asking in the chat about a bug with the slanted background. Yeah, I do know about it. It's in the issue tracker. I just have to get to it. It's very hard to keep up. I got lots of issues to get through. I have customer support to get through. I have building these new components to get through because things were in early access, so we have to get that stuff out there. Tailwind CSS issues to get through. So thankfully we're hiring 2 people, and that'll help me stay on top of things. Right now a little overwhelmed for sure. All right, so this is there a grid here? Kind of. So like 1/3 and 2/3. All right, so this is going to become LG grid calls 3. LG, that's going to be grid calls 1 by default, so it's really just this one we have to worry about. LG grid calls 2, or sorry, LG call span 2. Let's go full screen, I guess we can see this. Okay, so Steve has 24 on both sides. That should be 32 on this side and 32 on that side. So we'll probably make it 32 on all sides. Which I think is kind of what I actually already have. Yeah. And he doesn't constrain this form. Now I'm surprised by that a little bit. Oh, fuck. This one's another weird one. These like splits are very hard to build. It's doable, but basically we have to do some absolute positioning, background layer crap to get the stuff the way we want it. So that's fine. Let's get rid of the max width on the form at this point. Basically the concern is like we want to constrain the whole thing. So we need to take like basically this element and say LG, I mean, not even, we can just say max width 7XL MX auto, period. Now that'll center everything, but you'll notice that like this gray background doesn't extend all the way and this white background doesn't extend all the way. So what we end up needing to do is creating like another wrapper for this whole thing. Putting a div here that's got like relative, absolute, inset 0, BG white. We can get rid of the BG white here. And then something that's like dot absolute dot inset y0 dot left 0 width 1/3 to match like the column thing, and then BG gray 50, and hopefully this kind of works. Okay, so that puts it over top, but it is there. But even this is creating like kind of weird problems, so let's just see what we get. So this is like okay, right? But if you look at this element, I guess that's actually pretty good. The thing that's funky is the edges don't line up. So if you look at this element, see how it doesn't come all the way to match like where this seam is? I'm just trying to think like is there even a way that you could do that? That would be good, because I want to declaratively specify that like this is in a 3-column padded grid, and yeah, I mean, you can imagine like how this could break down, right? Like see how once you get to a certain point, this 1/3 is not really like enough to cover it up. So I'm trying to think, is there like a good way to put all this stuff in like a grid but have a div that like fills this basically exact amount of space? I can't think of a good way to do it. We don't want it to be a 5-column grid because we want like it to be, those columns would have to be super narrow at this point, right? They'd have to be like just the width of the padding. So I don't know. If you're on like a 2560 monitor, it's probably still not even an issue. You know? If you're on like a 4000 pixel monitor, That's like when you start to see the problem appear. I mean, we could do something with a very custom grid to make it work, but there's a constraint here, which is we have to be able to do everything with Tailwind utilities, right? So with Tailwind's CSS grid support stuff, it only supports equal width columns. So that's kind of like a challenge. I'm just trying to think, is there any way that I can make the right edge of this be like declaratively linked to the right edge of that? Not really any good way to do it. So you know what a good approach to this might be, actually? This will work. I'm smart. Just do 1/2. And now it'll always be fine because the middle is always the middle, no matter how wide it gets, right? So if that gray is always coming to the middle, but there's a white thing covering it up here, then you're fine. So there we go. That's a good trick. Split it at 50%. Yeah, Thomas just mentioned that in the chat too, right after I did it. Smart thinking, Thomas. You're a clever man. Cool. We did it. So I feel pretty good about that solution. I don't know. Seems fine. And I think that's basically it. Maybe there's like some padding stuff we got to figure out. Like, what does Steve do here? He's got 64, 64, 64, 64. This is kind of like 96. I don't know what's going on here because this is still 83, 83. Maybe these are supposed to be centered. I don't know. This looks kind of sloppy. Looks like Steve goofed up here, so I'll be giving him the gears on that one. But other than that, I think that's good. I have one more to build at some point, which is this one down here. So I'll probably build that one tomorrow morning. Probably not on a stream. I'll probably just try and bang it out quickly. But yeah, thanks for checking out the streams. Hopefully this was fun, and I'll do some more of these soon. Always fun to hop on these and bang stuff out. Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in and for your help where needed. And see you again soon.